Now the responsibility of the scorecard is always the archer. But does it mean that we don't help them? No, we always try our best to help them. So we can help, take a look. If they finish, hey, can I have a look just to see all the things are there? If not, can you remind the archer, okay, you forgot this, can you sign it? You forgot this, can you do that? To help them. Okay, we don't want them to lose their score because of silly things like this. As much as possible, we help them. Just take a look, a quick look, scorecards, fill in everything. Okay, now the last point here, archers can themselves correct values, but all the archers on the targets need to sign. Now this sentence here has a lot of things I didn't write here. Okay, for them to correct the scores, must all the archers agree? Must the arrow stays on the, preferably the arrows must stay on the board? Yes, okay. Next question. If it's a bouncer pass through, can the archers settle the score themselves? You call the judge. So, bouncer pass through, you still need to call the judge. What I'm saying is that what they can correct, the archers, so maybe I said, oh, my arrows is 10, 10, 9. The person who write, listen and wrote wrongly, and wrote 10, 10, 9, for example. So because of this, I didn't hear properly, I write wrongly, they can correct it themselves. Okay? Don't look at the slide yet, it's a lot of words. I just want to remember two things. Ties, okay? What do you decide? So basically, there's two methods of deciding ties, isn't it? Number one, you count the number of tens and x's, or two, you do a shoot off. It's only these two scenarios. Yes? Yes? Okay. So now, I just want you to remember, if the position that you are fighting for is just a position. For example, it is position 1 and position 2. Now, which method do you settle by? Do you count the number of tens and x's, or do you do a shoot off? For position 1 and 2. Let me repeat my question again. In the qualification results, I have archer A on rank 1, archer B on rank 2. They have the same score. I need to decide who is number 1, who is number 2. So slowly, pay attention. So archer on time for position 1 and 2, you go for tens and x's. The next question, listen fast. Now, I have two archers. These two archers are fighting for position 8 and 9. Now, why is it important 8 and 9? Because the top 8 has a bye. Okay? So now I need you to think. Now, the 8th position has byes. The 9th position will need to go through another round of elimination. Okay? Yeah. Wait first. In this case, option 1, do you count the number of tens and x's? Or option 2, do you do a shoot off? So for position 8 and 9, the person who is going to be ranked 8 will have byes. The person who will be ranked 9 will have to go through additional round of elimination. Yes. So in this case, they have to go for shoot off. All right? So next question again. So I have this position. It is in your assessment, I think. So position 104 and position 105. Obviously, 104 will go in, 105 will pack and go home. Okay? So who is going to stay and who is going to go home? Number 1, you decide by number of tens and x's, or 2, you decide by shoot off. Shoot off. Yes. Okay? So going back, again, I just want you to remember these 4 things. Number 1, number of tens and x's. 2, shoot off. And then 3 and 4, are they vying for position, or are they vying to go for who gets to go home or who gets to stay, or vying for who gets for bye and who have to go through additional elimination? Do you understand now? This is the point I want you to decide, to be able to think yourself. This position, is it only for position, or does it decide who gets to go into elimination or who doesn't go into elimination? There is a lot of numbers you need to remember. If you keep thinking that, oh, I need to remember 8 and 9, 104, 105, is it 32 or 33? Okay, there's a lot of numbers you need to remember. And personally, I don't really remember this. I just know if there is a position, for example, 6th or 7th, or maybe 34 and 35. This is what I mean by position. It doesn't matter whether they are in the higher or the lower position. They are all going into the elimination. I want you to remember, if the position that you are vying for decides whether you are staying or you're going home. The position you are vying for has buys or you go into elimination. Okay, now these positions that you are vying for is therefore important. It is important because if you are 8, you have buys. If you are 9, you have to shoot one more round. Yes? This position, 104 and 105, these are important because 104, you stay, 105, you go home. So this is the part I want you to remember and think. So that next time somebody asks you, oh, I'm in position 34 and 35. Do I do shoot off or do I do tens and X's? So my question to ask you back is, 34 and 35, does it decide you go home or you stay?
No.
No. Then if it's no, you do tens and X's.
Okay.
If this position you are vying for means you are staying or you are going home, you are going to have a buy or you get to shoot. These are important positions, therefore you do a shoot off. You understand now?
Yes.
Okay? So that's why positions that matters. For example, outdoor, you have 24 and then 16. Okay, because if you are 24 and 25, it's deciding who stays and who goes home. So that is a shoot off. Indoor, 16 and 17, one goes home, one stays, so shoot off. Now somebody already mentioned, it is the next slide. So for the championship, 104, top 8 buys. Now something new. Okay, now I need you to pay attention to this now. Now when you see this sign, it's something new, okay? So for World Cup, they are doing away with top 8 buys. World Cup, they are doing away with top 8 buys. Okay, so the top 8, they will be like everybody, they will go through the full eliminations. Okay, so without top 8 buy, my question to you now is, a person on same 8 and 9, they need to decide 8 and 9 for World Cup. Okay, they have tie score for position 8 and 9. World Cup, no more top 8 buys. So now, do they decide by tens and X's or do they decide by shoot off? Why? Yeah, so that's correct. So because of the change in rule, no more buys for top 8 in a World Cup. The 8 and the 9 position does not matter anymore. The 8 or the 9 will still go into elimination. They will still compete together. So no more buys. So the way to decide ties will then be tens and X's, no more shoot off. Okay, but it is only for World Cup. Okay, so quickly, ties. Now, this point, this slide here, just want to make a distinction in tie. Now, Karen mentioned earlier for match play. Okay, for qualification. In a qualification, the 3 archers. So for example, archer ABC, archer XYZ. Okay, they form a team. These two teams have the same score. Obviously, they will need to, let's say they are vying for 16 position. Okay, 16 or 17. So I need to have a shoot off. The thing is, how do you conduct the shoot off? In qualification, going into elimination. Not yet in elimination, okay? The keyword is not yet in elimination. Qualification, going to eliminations. The 3 archers, they will stand on the line and shoot together. You get that clear? Okay? Qualification, going into eliminations. The 3 archers, or 2, they stand on the shooting line and shoot together. Okay? This is different from what Karen mentioned during match play. Match play ties, different. Okay? So now, the change was a long time ago. So if the scores, both 3 archers, scores 27-27. So both team 27-27, you measure closest to center. Okay, there are 3 arrows you can measure. I'm sure you can decide who the winner is. All right, so the general part's over. Now line core. Okay, 1 judge call. Okay, I think very, very, very old rules has changed. So now it is just 1 call, and you do it clearly. You go in, take a look, step out, and then you say it clearly. This is a 9. Okay, and then you can stand behind and make sure the archer writes a 9. Okay, then your job is done. I repeat the procedure. The archer calls you, you step in, okay, you take out your magnifying glass, you look at both sides, you say it clearly, this is a 9. You step back, make sure the scorer writes a 9. So how to take a look? Now, I'm going to use the word tangent. What is tangent? Just look at this side, okay? C, D, and E. Can you tell me which line is the tangent? D. Okay? So tangent is the line that crosses it. Just look at this slide, okay? So tangent is D for Denmark, the dotted line. So key things to remember, you take a look on the left of the tangent, you take a look at the right of the tangent, you must have a score. Okay? Is this a 10 or is this a 9? If you are not sure, give the archers the benefit of doubt. Give the archer a 10. Okay, you don't stand there, I think it's a 9. Or I think, no, I think it's a 10. Don't do this, okay? Stand on the left. Okay, stand on one side. Look. Stand on the other side. Look. Say it is a 10 or 9. If you're not sure, call the higher value. Okay? Don't go and take a look again. Okay? 2 times, that's it. Take a look 1 time, take a look 2nd time, step out. This is a 9. Okay? Always, always use your magnifying glass. Even when an elephant can cross it, even if you see a wide gap between the arrow and the line, you pretend you take out your magnifying glass and see. Okay? So bad habits, we've seen people, they like to put their hand, rest on the target. Don't touch the target. Okay? Just remember, don't touch. If you tell your archers, don't touch, you shouldn't be touching it. Okay? Can? So I mentioned it just now. Take a look, step out, say it clearly. The arrow, this is a 9. Again, you make sure the scorer writes a 9. Now, bad habits. This is the wrong thing to do. Yes, it is not a tangent. Okay? Same thing, it is not a tangent here. Right? So go close, take a look at the tangent. Okay? If the dividing line is no longer there, then how? If a part of the line is missing. Yes, okay? Very good keywords. You imagine there's a line and you imagine, okay, I picture there's a line here. Again, say it, it's a 10 or 9. Again, if you're not sure, then how? Yep, if you're not sure, then you just say the higher value. Okay? And then so this is when you decide. Okay? We mentioned the judge decide when to change the face. Now, why do we change the face? Is to make your job easier. So you change the face when the line, a chunk of it is gone. You cannot tell the arrow score. You change it. So change the face to make your job easier. So you don't always have to imagine. Okay? And, okay, I'm quite tall. Okay, not very tall, but I'm quite tall. Okay, so sometimes I may have difficulty judging the lower ones. Okay, so I can ask my colleague, can you help me? So same thing, if you are not very tall, okay, and then the arrow is all the way on top, okay, you cannot reach it, there's 2 methods you can ask. You can ask your dear friend who is very tall, can you come and help me? Or you use an angled mirror. Okay, but if you want to use an angled mirror, please make sure you know how to use it. Okay, practice, practice, practice. If you're not sure, ask a friend. Now, this can be a problem in indoor where the lighting is not very bright. Okay, so sometimes you see indoor, the magnifying glass has a light. Okay, that is the purpose. So sometimes indoor you have shadows, so you can use a magnifying glass with a light. So you switch on the light and then you can take a look. Okay, same thing outside. If it's too sunny or the sun is the reflection of the light disrupt your vision, you can use something to block it. Okay, talking about caps, always remember if you have to step in to take a look, remove your cap because the cap can touch the arrow. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so these are the key things you need to remember. Do not take too long to make your decision. I repeat the procedure again. The moment the archer calls you, you step in, take out your magnifying glass, take a look once on each side. So you take a look left or right, doesn't matter, or right, left, once only. So maybe you take from a left, right, step behind, this arrow is a 9. Take a look, left, right, step out, the arrow is a 9, stand behind, just make sure that the archer record it as a 9. This should not take more than 15 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. And then be firm, okay? My voice is pretty firm. I say this is a 9, this is a 9. You don't argue with me, okay? But if you are soft, okay, I think this is a 9. I think it is a 9. I think it's a 9. No, okay, you don't do that. The arrow is 9. This is a 9, okay? Firm, confidently, okay? Closest to center measurement, there's 2 devices you can use. Some of you prefer the caliper. Some of you prefer the divider, okay? So if you are using the divider, just make sure it is a 2 needle point. Not the one with the pencil, yeah? Okay, because the pencil is not steady. It will move, okay? Now if I have a caliper, can I use an electronic one? Why not? Then the archer is going to give you hell because what is the difference? Okay, so don't invite yourself for trouble. You ask them. You just use. Now, even if you have an electronic one, take out the battery. Okay, just use it as a manual one. Okay, but important thing is where do I look on the vernier caliper? The other important part of the caliper is this one. Yes, the locking screw. Okay? So if you are using a caliper, make sure these 2 parts is there. Okay? And the locking. So same thing for your divider. If you are using a divider, make sure there's a locking part. Must you always use the caliper for shoot off? In a shoot off, must you always use a caliper? So even if I have a 10 and 10, if my eyes tells me I can clearly tell who is the winner, I do not need to take out the divider or the caliper to measure. Okay, I repeat. Even though Archer A and Archer B both shot a 10, but if you can see clearly the winner, you do not need to take out your caliper to measure. Okay? And then when you measure, I will suggest to you, go to the one that is closer. If you can tell, go to the one that is closer. Put it in the cross. Now, we will cover this more in the practical tomorrow. So I just quickly run through. We will cover this in the practical. So don't worry. So the cross, and then the inner side of the arrow. So take a look. Inside. Yes, inside. So, well, the picture is not very clear, but when you go home and take a look, to me, this one, I can tell who is the winner. Okay, so this picture here, I just want to tell you, by eyes, I can see who is the winner. So I do not need to take up caliper. When you download the slide, you can take a look at this, okay? So same thing. Do not use an electronic one, use a manual one. Okay? Quick visual look. I will go to the closest one. Okay? And then next one, measure from the inner, the X, the cross, to the inner side of the arrow. Okay? Now, if both archer shoots miss, who is the winner? If archer A and archer B both miss the target, who is the winner? Both archer is a miss. It doesn't matter which miss is closest to center because you cannot see. Okay? And we will do another shoot off again. Okay? Are we ready for maths? Okay? Shooting out of sequence, shooting out of time, or after the closure of the practice. What is the score penalty? The thing is, how do you do it?
Just write down all the...
Okay, yeah, right. Okay. So I have an example here and I have a question here. So you write down all the scores. The highest score, you cross it out with your red pen, you mark it with an M. The thing is, why must I keep the original score? Yes, I heard something. Singapore, what did you say? In the event of appeal, okay? Now, you do know that these situations can be appealed, okay? If you're sure, okay, I think my archer did not shoot out of time, I'm going to make appeal. So the team managers or the country appeal, and if the appeal is successful, they look through the evidence and they found, okay, the archer actually never shoot out of time. But then you need to give a score back to the archer. But if you never write down the score here, what score are you going to give back? You understand now? So it is important that you write down the score, you cross it out, you mark it with an M. During the appeal procedure, your COJ will come and interview you what happened. So you give your account of what happened. So you tell them what happened, why you gave a red card. You explain to them, and then they will go back and then discuss. So you cross out. So you go to the scorecard, you go to the archer. You can tell them, okay, you shot out of time. So this is what's going to happen. You will lose your highest scoring. I do the correction. I cross out. I put an M. I put my signature beside it. And you pass the scorecard back to the archer. Okay? Score penalty. So in red card, in team, we have a red card and a yellow card. What is the difference between a red card and a yellow card? Yes, I'm hearing the keywords I want to hear. Keywords is yellow card is a time penalty. You can have multiple time penalty until your time is up. But the red card is a score penalty. A red card will cause you to lose point. So again, a yellow card cause you to lose time. A red card cause you to lose scores. Okay? So that is a difference between the red and the yellow card. Okay? So now we are going into multi-phase scoring. We do the indoor phase. In the indoor scoring, so indoor phase you're all familiar, right? Vertical triple. Okay? So if I have 2 arrows on one target phase, okay? I repeat the question. So you're familiar with indoor phase. Indoor is vertical triple. Okay? Just remember this simple rule. If I have more than the required number of arrows on a phase, the highest scoring arrows will become miss. More than the required number of arrows on a phase, the highest arrows will be scored as miss. Okay? So I give her a very simple example. Just 2 arrows. I have a 10 and a 9. So the 10 become an N, the 9 is still a 9. So I just want you to remember, she has get the idea already. So I don't care you have 2 more or 3 more or 4 more or 5 more. Anything more, everything becomes M. Okay? So simple ones, multiple arrows on a single phase. Again, same thing. If I have more than the required number of arrows, I take the lowest required, lower 6 or lower 3. Okay? So rule number 1, if I have more than required number of arrows, the highest scoring arrows become miss. Rule number 2, if I have more than the required number of arrows, 7 or 8, I take the lower 6, for example. That's 2. Okay? And then you order the arrows and you take it. Okay? And if you have additional penalty, for example, they shoot out of sequence or they shoot out of time, again, yes, we talked about that earlier. The highest scoring arrows, you strike it out, you mark M. Okay? So now I'm going to combine everything. 9, 9, 8, M. There's 4 arrows. So the second penalty applies. I only take the lower 3. Okay? Yes, so the answer is no, you should have 9, 8, M. Next, Yes or no? This arrow is not on the scoring zone. So I do not need to cross out this and give it an M. It is in a non-scoring zone. It is in a non-scoring zone. I do not consider it 2 arrows on a face. Okay? So to me, this is a simple penalty where the archer shot more than the required number of arrows. So I line the arrows up. 10, 10, 10, miss. And because it's 4 arrows, I take the lower 3. So the final score will be 10, 10, M. Okay, so the next question. Okay, listen to my explanation for those that didn't get it correct. So we settle one at a time. There is 2 arrows on the middle face. One of the 10 become M. And then I line them up. So I have 10, 9, 9, miss. Now follow the sequence. Follow my sequence. I line the arrows up. 10, 9, 9, M. Because there's 4 arrows, I take the lower 3. But that's not the end of the story yet because the archer shot 1 out of time. So my 9, 9, M, I need to cross out the 9, mark it with an M, and then I sign it. Okay? Clear? So next one. Okay? Now, so this is a simple one. I have 3 arrows only, so I score the 3 arrows, 8, 8, 7. But because this one is short out of time, I cross it and mark it with an M. Okay? And then you sign against the score. Now, compound is the same idea. Okay, listen. Compound is the same idea. Again, the rules. If I have more than the required number of arrows on the face, the extra arrows, the more arrows, scored as M. Simple. So just remember this. Okay? So compound, team, we have 2. Okay? So let me explain. Listen. One face, 3 arrows. If I have 4 arrows here, the highest scoring arrows become a miss. Okay? Then I line them up. I have 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, miss. Okay? Isn't a face supposed to have 3 arrows? So I only have 2 arrows here. Should I put in 1 more M? Yes. So listen. We do not penalize the archer by making them shoot a 7 arrow. They shoot 6 arrows, that is correct. They probably, maybe, I'm not sure, they aim here, but the arrow lands on this side. Okay, they try to aim here, but it lands on the left face. Okay, so it is not their fault. They shoot 6 arrows, we don't give them extra 7th arrow. Okay? The steps. Okay, I understand your question. So step 1, you count the number of arrows. There should only be 3 arrows on the face. So you settle the one first. Step number 1, make sure only 3 arrows on a face. You do the necessary. Step 2, you line up the arrows accordingly. If it's 6, no more penalty, you put in the 6 arrows. Okay, listen. Her question is, they are shooting 4 arrows here. Isn't them shooting more than required number of arrows? Because she thinks that there's only 3 arrows here. So what she's going to do is, she's just going to take 9, 9, 8. Yes, because she thinks 4 arrows they shot. I take the lower 3. Is she correct or not? The number of arrows here does not count on the individual face. I do not just look at one face and say, okay, there should be 3 arrows here, there should be 3 arrows here. No. I look at the 2 faces, I count, there should only be 6. I don't care, is it 4, 2, or 5, 1? Yes, but the thing is, she's looking at individual face and only count the 3 arrows. I look at the total, 2 faces, there should be 6 arrows. Okay? Next, alternate shooting. Then I go through now, you listen. All right, so I have 3 arrows here, 3 arrows here. Now you see the color of the arrows. These are blue, 2 blues, 2 reds, 2 greens. So each archer shot 2 arrows, that is correct. And I have 3 arrows on each face, that is correct. So I line them up. I have 10, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. But 1 arrow is shot out of sequence, so you have to cross out the 10 and mark it with an M. So step number 1, I have 4 arrows on the left face. 4 arrows on the left face. So the higher one will be scored as miss. So next, I line them up. So I have 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, M. Correct? Now, don't forget, there's one more penalty here. 1 arrow shot out of time. Now, 1 arrow shot out of time, it can be appealed. So you need to keep the 9. So you cross out the 9, you mark it with an M. Okay, I repeat again. On the left, there is 4 arrows. The highest scoring one scored as miss. I line up the arrows. So now I have 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, M. 1 arrow is short out of time. So the 9, I strike it out. I mark it with an M. Okay, listen. Okay, so step number 1. Okay, we still okay. Now follow my steps. So step number 1, look at this. There's 4 arrows. So the highest scoring arrow scores as a miss. Okay, next, I line the arrows up. So I have 9, 9, I have 10, 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, M. Can someone tell me how many arrows is that?
7.
So what do you do?
6 loser.
Yeah. So what you actually write is only 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, M.
Yes.
Okay? But here, there's 2 penalty. 1 shot out of time, 1 shot out of sequence. So I cross 1, I cross 2 M's. Okay? All right. So if you have any questions, post it on Slido. We will address it at the end of the day. Okay?